Got a good thing coming, and it's all I need. Everything I wanted is in front of me. Stuck it up in the dark, sun is shining over me. I got a good thing coming, just wait and see. It's a good.
Good morning and welcome to the Coaching Corner. I'm here with my phenomenal co-host Nancy.
Good morning, Jay. Good morning, everybody.
So today on the Coaching Corner, we've got a very interesting topic, and it's what's the greatest threat to your child's success? Now, Nancy and I decided to talk about this because we think there's a threat going unnoticed that's actually killing children, not physically necessarily, some unfortunately yes, but killing your child mentally and absolutely killing your child spiritually and emotionally. That goes unnoticed. It's almost like kind of slips under the radar. And we got inspired to do the show today from an article that I found online, and the article's title is The 7 Signs Your Child Needs This 60-page book. You can Google that yourself if you wish to. But let's just talk about this greatest threat to your child's success. So I think the way we're going to start off the show is we're going to talk about 3 stages, especially with boys, how we can identify that your child has kind of got onto this slide that goes whoop all the way down into the depths of despair. So we just see boys literally isolating, becoming angry, and if it's left unchecked and unchanged, the child will become a total couch potato with no purpose in life, no motivation, zero ambition, and will actually slowly just hurt himself further and further, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. So should we talk about that, those 2 steps?
We're talking about boys especially. I've got the same notes because the data on boys compared to girls is 67% boys and 22% girls that game, and we're talking up to 2.5 to 3 hours a day across the globe. You know, some areas are a little bit more intense, but that's the general rule at the moment. So yes, girls do game, but not as much as boys, and we do see it generally. There's a lot out there that boys can game. Most of it is what I would call fighting, an animation of fighting, gaming, where you are causing harm to other people or whatever it may be. So it's very aggressive gaming, okay? Let's not talk about Roblox yet, because Roblox is a whole other thing, and Minecraft and all that. But generally, it's fighting against each other. They're talking to each other online. Again, that's not a good thing because you don't know who you're talking to, right? And this aggression that we're seeing, you know, is quite intense. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Boys in that age group, by the way, 13 to 17 or 18, have a lot of testosterone, and that seems to be playing out. But there are 3 stages in the article. He calls them 3 stages of drowning,
yes,
which is really interesting.
And just before you tell them, I just want to read the very first paragraph of this article, which I found just the way they worded it was really good. It said, this is about talking to your teenager now. You've tried talking to them. You've tried motivating them. You've watched them drift further into their phone, further from their potential. Sometimes the answer isn't another conversation. And this is what we're talking about today. Sometimes a conversation to try to correct the behavior doesn't actually work, because if you think about the pyramid of change, you try and change behavior, doesn't work. You got to change the environment. The environment determines their behavior. So gaming, Nancy was telling me earlier, because it's like kids want to fit in. So the best thing you can tell a child is don't fit in, stand out, because when they want to fit in and the rest of them are all gaming, the child kind of feels this peer pressure to game. But let me hand over to Nancy. She's going to tell you about these 3 stages, and it does refer to an analogy of water, and is if your child is drowning and where that water level is, and the parents actually watch their child drown without noticing they're drowning. It's almost like a blind spot. So this is the purpose of the show. We're not here to blame. We're here to help.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to read straight from the blog. So the 3 stages of drowning. Early, which is ages 15 to 18, water at ankles. Sleeping in, gaming. Just a phase, and you think it'll pass, right?
Parent.
As a parent, you think, oh, it's just a phase. He's buying some time, having some fun. 15 to 18. Now we go middle, which is 18 to 22. I just want you to imagine water at the chest. So dropping out, isolation. So when we say dropping out, perhaps not having as much friends, isolating themselves from the world, negative self-talk, okay?
Now, at this stage, your parents are a little bit worried, but they don't actually know what to do, and they're hoping it is a phase that they'll grow out of. But now the water's risen from the ankles up to the chest. So now we're at stage 3. Go ahead.
Okay. And you're still worried, right? You're worried, you just don't know what to do. So crisis is age 22 to 25 plus. Water over his head. So now you can imagine he's drowning. Complete isolation, no future, suicide risk, and you're terrified. So I want to ask, which is really interesting, if you're watching this and if you do have a son or child that's gaming, what stage is your son in right now? And most parents don't see it. You know, by the time they're in stage 1 and by the time they notice he's in stage 2 and by the time they panic, he's approaching stage 3. But we do have some really good news on that.
So that's the purpose of the show. Thank you. Is to turn this around for parents and give them tools, avenues, techniques to help your child actually turn around, make a full U-turn and go in the other direction. So as Nancy was saying, one of the early signs is when they sleep in till noon. And when they stop working at their desk, they actually land up on a device on their bed. If a child moves from working on a desk with a device, a computer, a tablet, even if it's gaming, to on their bed, you're at a severe second stage where now that drowning water is up to the chest level, and that isolation just gets worse and worse.
And then what's really happening mentally for the child is that he's thinking he's not good enough. He's totally in his own world. He's got a lot of negative thoughts happening. You know, things such as school is pointless.
Yeah, they think that.
Yeah, so that their thoughts are now really starting to pick up momentum. We're getting carried away with our thoughts.
I don't fit in. They might think I
Correct.
don't fit in. Now, you also understand, yourself listening to this, in your own life, you'll know if you're eating badly, if you're not exercising, if you're overweight and just let it slide, just making it worse, actually putting on more and more weight, or let's say you're less and less healthy, you don't get enough sleep, you're not doing the right thing by yourself, you're not, having nutritious foods, not taking care of details in your life, not giving your best at work, not doing mental development or personal growth, you know that you have, to a degree, even though it's subconscious, a sense of self-loathing.
Yeah.
And the worse you become, like the worst version of yourself begins to appear, the more you actually hate yourself. And we find, Nancy and I, we train Love Yourself, Heal Your Life, 2-day workshops. And the greatest common denominator amongst everyone, to some degree, unless they've done the workshop more than once, is they don't love themselves. And the worse you are compared to your higher self, the more you hate yourself. So kids get worse because they're actually starting to hate themselves, and they become more and more self-destructive. So they do isolate and they do have negative self-talk, and eventually they think life is useless. There's no purpose to my life. I don't even know why I'm existing. The world is not a place for me to fit into, and they're quiet at this stage. It's become very dangerous now. But the truth is, it comes from a place of self-loathing because gaming has actually got them by the neck. It's got them. It's like, if you can imagine the picture of grabbing a big thing, grabbing something small by its neck, and there's nothing this thing can do. It can wiggle its legs, shake its arms, but that's the feeling that the child has, even though they don't want to game. Wayne Dyer says this: you can never get enough of the thing you don't want. You can never get enough of the addiction. If it's alcohol, if it's drugs, whatever, you can never get enough of that thing that you don't want. So this is about gaming. So Nance, we are going to talk about the positives here. I want to ask you, as a parent, how can we first of all help parents not even let their children get into stage 1? The stage 1 that we said was they're sleeping in, they're gaming already 2 hours or more a day. Doesn't matter if they 15, anything around age 15. If they're gaming four hours a day,
4 to 6 hours daily.
yeah, or even if it's 4 hours a day, they're already in the problem zone, the red zone. So what would you say to parents who might just be totally unaware? We're not saying it's your fault, we're not blaming, we want to help with raising awareness. What would you say to parents?
Well, at first, say, how are you interacting with your kid? I mean, look, parenting is really hard. It's probably the hardest thing ever. And I'm the first to put up my hand and say, at times it's like, can I say the word BS? It's difficult, it's challenging, all those things, okay? But I would say the first thing is to, as a parent, especially if you're a mum, I guess, how are you on intuition? Like your gut feeling will tell you there's something wrong. If your child is sleeping in, first of all, that's a red, like a warning sign, like a red light sort of saying, then my child must be up all night doing something. What are they doing? What's in their room to keep them distracted? And number two, if they're spending if they're spending a lot of time in their room and not enough time outside with you or outside, in the sun, that's also a big thing too. If they're not getting enough sunlight, are their blinds closed? And are they isolating themselves just not from the family, but from anybody? As in, I'm not wanting to go socialize or interact with anybody else. These are your cues. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, my kid's just being a teenager. Your kid's not being a teenager. That's not. You just go back to think about how you were as a teenager. I know we didn't have devices and it's really, really difficult now.
Can I just interrupt there and say, I find it's a hard topic, it's confrontational. And when you try to challenge some parents on this, the first thing they say is, we're living in a different era.
Yeah, I get that.
This is not about a different era. This is about boundaries with your children and responsible parenting. So if I may just throw that in.
Yes, well, I have to agree. Now, we can't run away from digital, technology, AI, all of those things. We cannot run away. It's going to be interactive. We're going to have that in our lives. It's going to come in. It's at school. It's everywhere, digital phones and all that sort of stuff. But what we can teach our kids is boundaries, and that's what I've tried to emphasize with my child. Now, I have a different way of upbringing because I'm pretty Nazi, sorry, I have to say it, when it comes to things like this. So my child doesn't have a phone, okay? He doesn't have a mobile phone. And if he did have a mobile phone, it would be a Nokia flip phone. Some people might think I'm old-fashioned, but I don't believe a child needs a phone.
Well, maybe I want to tell them why. Why?
Because it's a distraction and there's no need for it. There's just simply no need. What would be the purpose of a child?
But why else? Like you know the danger, so why?
Well, why would he want to see things that he shouldn't see, number one, because he's too young to understand what's going on in this world. Then it keeps him obviously distracted and on his phone and not doing his schoolwork and not interacting with others. He has access to things that he shouldn't have access to. And he doesn't need to be on the phone for hours talking, even phone calling, messaging. All of it is a distraction.
Yeah, and it's addictive. So we had another show. It is absolutely addictive. It's been proven now. It affects the same part of the brain as drugs, like cocaine, for example, alcohol, screens, all screens, any screen, TV, laptop, iPad, with a blue light. So I don't think Nancy's a Nazi parent. I think you're a responsible parent who's courageous enough to put boundaries in. And I think you were telling me earlier that parents who are actually unhealed.
Okay, so it is going to be, I'm going to just say it as it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it because that's not my personality. And I'm not here to blame you. I'm here to wake you up and maybe help you along the way. I was asleep too at a certain period. How I raised my other two children, I thank God that they turned out not on devices, but you raise your child, every child differently. You raise them at the point that you are healed or not healed. Now, along my journey of healing, I've been able to raise my younger son differently, with more awareness. I want to give you the same awareness. You are only doing or behaving out of your own emotional traumas. For instance, let me give you an example. Today, my son started high school. It's his first year in Year 7. Now, I overheard mothers speak about, oh, my son's got a phone, I've given him an iPhone, da 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 da, just in case maybe they need to go to the toilet and give me a text and say I'm all right. Now, your child's at school. Is really nothing going to happen at school. He's not in any danger, so there's really no need for that. There's no need to feel like your child needs a device either to fit in or you do it out of guilt. Maybe you never fitted in at school and you really desperately want your child to. Maybe you feel guilty that everybody else has got a device, but my child doesn't have one and I don't want to be deemed as the uncool mother. There are many things that you project onto your child that you're not aware of, subconscious, because if you knew, you probably wouldn't do it. That's why attending a class or coming and getting coaching, not just from us, it's not a sales pitch, it's just awareness. If you just come anywhere, get something, fix that little bit of emotional trauma that you don't know that you're holding on to, you don't bleed it onto your children. Because you don't want to, what I call, when I heard them speak like that, I was giggled a little bit and I thought to myself, there's no need for it. They don't have that awareness that their child doesn't need any of that sort of thing during school. That it's just not necessary.
I think when you were talking about the unhealed thing, when we used to be on the radio, which you can find the shows, they were excellent, I have to say, on mixcloud.com/The Meaningful Monday Show. We did more than one show on shame and the feeling of shame, humiliation. Nancy spoke about guilt. When a parent themselves hates that feeling of being humiliated or the feeling of shame, they, the parent, want to avoid it so much, they do everything they can to prevent their child ever experiencing shame. And for parents, it's that feeling that my child's got the feeling I don't fit in, so I've got this feeling of embarrassment, humiliation, or shame. And this is why they just give their kids free rein too many times on too many levels. And a child becomes, with pester power, absolutely got the parent around the little finger, and there's no more parenting. I'm sorry, there isn't any. The boundaries are so loose that the child is now able to wreck their own life without even realizing they're doing it. So parents need to put the guardrails up, tighten the reins, and take control.
It's not easy. Look, there are times I think to myself, you maybe are, being too much of a toughie. And I have to sit down and just say no, because in this day and age, they already get enough of these devices. They go to school, they get access to all these things. I'm not saying my son doesn't get a chance to game, but I've trained him that 30 minutes only. 30 minutes on any device is more than enough. And then I want him outside or in the kitchen with me, or we're doing stuff together. It's not easy. It's not easy. Please, I cannot stress it enough. But if you don't stick to it, if you break your own rules, he or she is definitely just going to think, well, mum breaks her own rules. I can break them too. And it's not necessary for a child to be on a device. I understand people say, oh, but you were telling me earlier when you went away, you went to a conference recently, a couple of days ago, that this lady said to you that, is it Minecraft?
Yeah, so I was actually talking about real research that proves that screens, any screen, doesn't matter if it's a TV, please hear me, the TV, iPad, mobile phone, tablet, they have blue light. They never always used to be like this. When I was a child, TVs weren't made. Okay, so you've got to understand that blue light makes the child stay on the device as long as possible. It puts them into a hypnotic trance. Your child is literally hypnotized at the alpha level. That's why it's called Alpha Kids, is the generation now growing up with screens. And I was saying to her, it actually causes brain development damage. If you don't believe me, please go do the research. And I was saying that if a child is on a device, I don't believe that. I think you're quite right. They shouldn't be on a device because it stunts the development of the imagination. And the imagination is the part of the brain that helps with, listen to this, emotional regulation, problem solving, intuition, and just being able to create. Like, I need to write an essay, or I need to come up with a science project. This creativity, this sense of innovation, I can think for myself. it kills that. And the person was saying to me, oh no, they don't agree because they use Minecraft. And in Minecraft, they're actually, building things.
No.
Please let me explain. That's not imagination. Maybe you want to attend the Silver Method. It's a mind development program that I train. And we spend 2 full days on developing the creative imagination to help people understand the enormous benefits of really massaging and developing the creative imagination, especially children. And for neuroplasticity, for making sure there's not early onset of dementia and Alzheimer's. These come from not using the creative imagination and the brain. They have found they've actually reversed Alzheimer's and dementia in people, putting them through certain courses, just using the creative imagination a lot. So for children, anything on a device is passive entertainment, including if they're building things and shooting things. They are not using the imagination. It's passive entertainment. They are doing what we call synthetic imagination. That's different to creative imagination. Synthetic imagination is working with things that already exist, which is the blocks on the screen and the tools on the screen, and that's not. So it's a whole different thing. Creativity is when Nancy pulls out canvases and paint and says, come on, I'm going to do art now. That's different. That's truly the creative imagination. So I think we want to talk about the tools. The article that we were referring to about knowing that your son is drowning or his potential is being stolen from him, they were referring to a book, and the book that they were referring to is this book here by James Allen called As a Man Thinketh. And if you're listening to this as a parent, and if you haven't read this book, you're missing one of the greatest gifts on this planet in the personal development world. This is a thin book. It's not even a book. It's an essay. It will take you 35 minutes to read, but you could study this book for a lifetime, and almost every personal development program in the world is based off James Allen's As a Man Thinketh. And why this article refers to it is this book says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It comes from Proverbs in the Bible. As a man thinks, so is he. So if a child thinks negatively, they become negative. If a child thinks I'm no good, they become no good. If a child thinks, life is hard, life becomes hard. As you think, you create your life. So this is not about positive thinking. This is about actually liberating your child from having its potential stolen from them through gaming. Gaming and devices is the greatest threat to human capital any generation in all of history has ever seen. This was stated by a psychologist. I read that particular line, the greatest threat to human capital. So to save your child from having its potential completely ruined and stolen from them, you've got to look at the early warning signs that leading up to it. So that's how we started the show. But let's talk about school and the difference between what they think.
Okay, so school, we all have to go through it. I think, people are leaning towards home education, which is great. If you've got the time and the capacity to do that, it's fantastic. But what school does not teach you, because I know I'm going to use myself as my own example. Yes, I can recite historical dates. Yes, I could work out simple math equation and literature and all of those sort of things. But never did it teach me the power of using my own mind. Never did it tell me anything about self-love. Never did it tell me you create your own reality. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So these are really key things. So we've got our, what school teaches you, and by the time you finish school, it gets you into university, if that's where you want to go, or into a trade. Great. But the most key ingredient, I think, out of all of this is the ability to master your own mind.
So let's give him some tools there.
Yeah, so, the tools that the first thing that I learned many, 7 years ago when I attended a John Maxwell event, when I became a John Maxwell coach and a speaker, was leadership. Leadership was the most important thing. But then John Maxwell talks a lot about, it's quotes from, what's the book again? I just had a blank.
John Maxwell.
As a Man Thinketh, he quotes from there. He quotes from that book quite a bit because he read that book more than once as a kid.
His father paid him to read it.
Yes, and he talks about your mind, controlling your mind, controlling your thoughts. What are you thinking, and then going on and learning more and more from thought leaders of Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Jose Silva, all these thought leaders about you create your own reality. Now, when we say you create your own reality, what is occupying your mind most of the time? I'm now 54. I need to remind myself every day, and I'm kidding you not, every day, as a thought comes in that is not conducive to my growth or a higher level of consciousness, a negative thought, I have to remind myself, what are you thinking? And I have to wipe it out and replace it. Now, if I don't have that awareness, I will run my whole life on what?
Autopilot.
Which is?
Well, so default thinking of negative thinking.
Right, because how many negative thoughts, how many thoughts do we have a day?
We have about 70,000 thoughts a day, and between 80 to 87% of them are negative, and the majority of them go undetected by the conscious mind. So you're not even aware that your mind is just looping negative thoughts in the background. You're not even aware. And a lot of it is, and most of it is negative self-talk.
So that's the key, the awareness. Now, if your child doesn't have that awareness and is not taught that, so if you're not taught that at a young age, you won't live like that. What did Dr. Bruce Lipton say? He said, give me a child between 0 to 7 and I'll tell you what type of a man he'll be.
Yeah, he said, actually, the Jesuits said, if you give me a child from 0 to 7, I can tell you exactly what man that they will be, because you can program, because children are programmable. And I know it sounds terrible, but it's called the imprint phase in psychology. We're all programmable between 0 and 7. So the point of this show is actually to raise awareness for parents. Well, not only the things we spoke about, like boundaries and you being responsible for the exposure, whether it's excessive or restrictive, in the healthy way for your child, but it's that you become aware of what Nancy said, that we do create our own reality. That's number one. Nancy spoke about the ability to control your mind. You as a parent need to know and need to practice controlling your own mind. Otherwise, how on earth do you teach your child? You too need to be able to control your emotions. Otherwise, how on earth do you help your child control their emotions? If you shout at your child because they're not listening and they shout back at you, and then the other partner shouts, and then the other kid shouts, and you're all shouting, no one can help you.
Yeah, it's hard.
So the parents, this is why we do Love Yourself, Heal Your Life 2-day workshop. I find it transformational. I've seen, Nancy, you in your own life transform, and Nancy, has got 4 lovely children. And it's not easy to being a parent. She keeps saying it. She says it openly herself. And I know, I don't have kids, but I know parenting is the hardest job in the world. There's not even 10 CEOs' responsibility is not as difficult as a parent. It's really, really a challenge.
Especially in this day and age.
Especially in this day and age, yeah. So parents, you need to learn to manage your own emotions. If you find that you are easily triggered, please understand that means one thing. You need healing. Love Yourself, Heal Your Life 2-day workshop. We would love you to join, and I can guarantee you, it'll change life. The book is great, but the workshop is 10,000 times better than the book, because what we do there.
And there are team leaders all around Australia or overseas.
All over the world.
You just get onto the website and Louise Hay, and you will definitely find someone. Yeah.
Then another tool to help your child know that they can control their own mind, they need to have limits. That they can't be on a screen for 4 hours a day as a child. Really not. It's absolute drugs. You've got to see a screen as a drug. And every time you see your child in front of the screen, you've got to imagine them sipping a drink, alcohol, whiskey, beer, I don't know, or sniffing something. It's the same thing. So meditate. I find most adults don't meditate. So I train the Silva Method. It's a mind development program. It's a meditation-based program where we use advanced visualization, the creative imagination, in a meditative state. So if you're more interested in that, please read the book, Silva Mind Control Method by Jose Silva, or attend a live class. We run them here every couple of months. And then visualizing. Do you want to give an example of how you and your child just do a mini visualization? It might take 2 minutes, and the child has a positive outcome. You've got examples.
So we do it in the car, usually going to school. We were doing it for years, obviously going to primary school. And the whole point is he's done the Silva Method. So what I do is just walk him through a deep like a quick relaxation. So 3 to 1. So we count. And then I get him to a level where he's relaxed, take a few deep breaths, and then I will ask him to put on this, on his mental screen, So it's just a TV screen in front of him kind of thing. Funny that. And then I say to him, what's the outlook today? What would you like to see at school? How would you like to be? Think about your peers, think about your teacher, think about yourself, finishing work, being happy, high-fiving, having a great day on the playground, and then really feel the emotion. And when you felt that emotion, I want you to anchor it in and lock it in. We use a technique in the Silva method called the 3-finger technique, where you're anchoring in that feeling. So during the day, if he feels out of sorts, he has to quietly put his 3 fingers together and he can feel that feeling that he felt earlier this morning.
That confidence and that positive success.
Yeah. So then, honestly, by the time we get in the car and go to school, it's a 7-minute drive. He's done it, and then he just opens his eyes, and once he's felt the feeling, gets out and feels great, and he has a great day. And I think it's just a quick tool to help your child kind of guide him throughout the day, because I can always say to him, you can always go there. You can always access that feeling by using your anchoring technique. So I think anything you can do. We do it before an exam. Strange enough, it's a Silva method technique. You put the teacher on your screen and ask the teacher the question that you can't answer. No one needs to know. You're not cheating. You're just asking. Close your eyes and ask the teacher. And 9 times out of 10, he gets the right answer.
Yeah, and just to be clear, that's all in the child's imagination. So it's actually a Silva method technique.
Yes.
It's called the study technique or the test-taking technique. The other thing I wanted to say about screens, the more a child, like we were talking about these stages of drowning, when the child becomes more isolated and becomes more quiet, and they pull their blinds in their bedroom and they hang out in their bedroom more and more and more, gaming, the child doesn't have a very positive self-image. And that is the most important and critical thing to raise a child, is they must have a good self-image and they must have self-confidence. Now, that doesn't develop automatically. That's got to be developed with intention. So we just ran recently, Nancy and I, just literally 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago at the most, what we call the Teens Empowerment Play Shop. It was a 2-day play shop for teenagers, and one of the main focuses is, one, what we've been talking about, identifying the negative thoughts they have about themselves in their head. I'm no good enough, I can't do this, I don't feel pretty enough, smart enough, whatever it may be. Yeah, all these negative thoughts, and how to change them into positive thoughts and tools to actually do that. And the other thing that we work on with the children is to learn to love themselves, to start to have a relationship with the one person they do not even focus on. They're trying to be liked by this friend, by this person, but they never think, do I like me? Do I like me? So we have these fun techniques. One of them is using a mirror. That's no surprise, because Louise Hay's work involves mirror work. And we've actually got video footage, just fun video footage that's of the kids going around past the mirror on the first day, and they just couldn't wait to look away and go to the next person. But by day 2, they stopped in front of that mirror, they high-fived it, they said, I love you, Janine, or whatever their name was, into the mirror, or you're amazing, and they were like, just a different relationship with that person in the mirror. And suddenly the kids are more authentic, they come out of their shell, they start to talk from a different level of confidence. It's the most beautiful thing to see them really come into their best and better versions of themselves. And the more a child develops their self-love, their self-image, and their self-confidence, actually the more aware they are that gaming took them in the reverse direction, and gaming actually made them feel worse. Because what it is when you're confident, you have better relationships. And in relationships that connect, we release dopamine and oxytocin. And these are the best feelings a human being can have, are those two feelings when you release those drugs. Now, when a child isolates and goes into gaming, they are starved for this release of dopamine and oxytocin. They don't get it. So they literally go into starvation mode. It's like withdrawals from drugs. They get onto gaming because gaming makes them release dopamine. But it's fake. It's not a human being, and it's not a connection. And they become further and further and further into a world that they sink into, and the water is above their head now, and they're drowning. They can't connect with people. They hate themselves. They'll never admit it. And they literally allow gaming to steal their potential and the opportunity for them to have a wonderful life. So we're going to run another workshop this year. Is that right?
Yeah, August.
Yeah.
We're going to run a 2-day workshop. It's not in the school holidays. It'll be a Saturday, Sunday. You can head to our website and get all the details there, JanineShaka.com. It's JanineShakaInternational.com. Sorry about that. I wanted to say one thing before we kind of like wrap it up and finish. And now we've spoken a lot, and in the past we've done a few shows that we've spoken about AI and technology and how it can't coach you, and how we did another whole topic on AI, how it really has hurt a lot of families. A lot of families have been
Lost their kids too.
lost their kids to AI, ChatGPT, and unfortunately, the children are no longer with us. So it's what
They
I'm
took
trying to
their
say.
own life.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say. I don't really want to say that word, but what I'm trying to say is, in your parenting, look, I'm not an expert, okay? I'm not a parenting expert, okay? I can't call myself that, but I can tell you from my experience. Parenting now, like I said before, is not parenting, a year ago, 2 years ago, pre-COVID especially. Pre-COVID parenting was different to parenting now. COVID changed so much for so many people, and those that had babies during COVID are struggling with children going into primary school because they were very isolated. So there's a lot of things that is going on in the world. But what I can say is, take the time, and it's something that I do that has really helped, is of an evening before your child goes to bed. It doesn't matter what age they are. I mean, I've got 22-year-olds, I've got, adults in the house. Take some time to sit with your child before bed. I have a routine with my youngest. We go in, we pray together, we give thanks, what was a great part about your day, or we discuss. And as we talk, I try and elicit from him questions to see how he's feeling. Because most of the time, you don't want your child to go to bed with anything on their mind that is
Troubling them.
it's not a really great thing too, because they will stew on that for 8 hours, 10 hours, how long they sleep for, and then they most likely won't have such a great night, good sleep. So if you can just sit with your child every night, if possible, and talk to them, because they're most receptible, and if they feel safe, they will open up to you of an evening. Now, the words are, if they feel safe, and that's the most important thing. Research has shown that children that feel safe will open up and talk to their parents or their caregivers or whoever it is. It's not to say that it's your fault. It's to say that something's troubling the child, and they don't feel like they can approach mum and dad because maybe they don't want to burden mum and dad. Maybe they think it's a subject they don't want to talk about. They're too afraid. They're, embarrassed, whatever it may be. So if they feel like they can open up to you and they feel safe, it's a really good indication that you have a gateway of communication there, that you can talk to them about this sort of thing. I find it very powerful. Doesn't matter what age your child is. Try and incorporate that as a routine. You ultimately have the power. Don't ever think that you don't. You ultimately have the power. You can turn the situation around at any given moment. You can slowly decrease the time that your child is on a device. You can slowly decrease the gaming. I know most parents are working, 2 of them, mum and dad, are working. I know parents can find little time for themselves. I understand that fully. But you can also give a little bit of extra time in this scenario. Remember, when you were growing up, you probably had family all around you. You probably had all that time with your parents. You had your parents, both parents weren't working. Maybe mum wasn't working and dad was, or whatever it may be. But there was more time for children. I know it. Janine knows it. We were both brought up, with parents around. Try and give that back, because ultimately you are in control. I cannot stress it enough. You are in control. Not the gaming world, not AI, and not anybody else, but you are. And I hope that if you get stuck, if you need some help, Janine and I are here. You can email us. You can give us a phone call. We would love to chat to you. We don't, it doesn't mean anything other than just a quick call or whatever it may be. We are here for you, to help you with your child. We just want to create a better world for these kids, because really we don't have much time left on this planet, maybe 30 years, 20 years. It's the kids that are going to suffer the most.
So, in summary, you as a parent are the role model. So, watch your own behavior around devices and try to limit your access to devices when you're in your children's presence, and do your best to be present with them. And then, just to remind you that the topic of today was that gaming is the greatest threat to your child's potential and to stealing their success. So, remember that teach a child, they create their own reality. They need to become aware of their thoughts. Give them techniques to change their thoughts to positive affirmations. We've spoken about the cancel technique many times. It's on my website. There's a free PDF you can download on JanineChuckinternational.com. When you get the Silver Method Long Relax Guided Meditation, you can get the cancel technique to manage your inner dialogue. Teach your child they create their own reality, and they must learn to master their mind. All the tools we've spoken about. Otherwise, we hope to see you at one of our events. This is exactly what we teach, what we help hundreds of people with, and it does make life better and better over time. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Nancy,
Thank
for
you.
all your contribution.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we'll see you again next time on the Coaching Corner.